talked about this being a warm-up for Sunday's race.
Yo, it's your boy Ryan, Northwest Sports Fanatics. Back at you with a new video. Today is Thursday, February 12th, 2026, with your boy Ryan and the Northwest Sports Fanatics. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Smash that like button either now or on your way out. Donate to your boy if you can. Cash App $, ORION NWSF, or the YouTube Super Chat right here. We got NASCAR Cup Series action here Thursday evening. The Duel at Daytona 1 and 2. Can't wait to be able to see how this one plays out. Let's look at the starting grid and take a look at the thumb. Let's cue up the music and let's get settled in for some racing this Thursday evening. Happy Thursday, everyone.
Of his career.
I had to do it. I had to hit you with Chase Elliott, my guy. Napa know-how in the America 250 Florida Duel at Daytona 1 and 2. It took me a while to get the photos of the starting grid for 1 and 2, but I feel that if you put in the effort and you put in the time, you will be rewarded. And I got some new photos from 2026 for a few of the drivers as well. So let's take a look at the starting grid for Duel 1. And then after this race is over in about an hour, hour and a half, we'll get into Duel number 2. Coming off the pole yesterday, good for him, Kyle Busch. Running in row 1 with Ryan Preece. In row 2, Corey Heim with Alex Bowman. Row 3, Chris Buescher and Joey Logano. In row 4, Austin Dillon and Corey LaJoie. In row 5, John Hunter Nemechek with Big Bad Brad Keselowski in row 5. In row 6, Ryan Blaney and Hendrick Motorsports' very own William Byron in row 6. In row 7, Cole Custer and Cody Ware. Row 8 with Jimmy Johnson and Bubba Wallace. In row 9, AJ Allmendinger and Ross Chastain. Row 10, SVG, Shane Van Gisbergen and Daniel Suarez. In row 11, Chandler Smith with Casey Mears. And then in row 12 by himself, Noah Gragson. And then obviously as we get into Duel number 2, we'll give you a quick preview here. And this will be the second race after this first one is over. On the pole, leading in this race will be Chase Briscoe and Denny Hamlin. In row 2, Hendrick Motorsports' very own, the champion from last year, Kyle Larson, and my favorite driver, America's favorite driver, Napa know-how, Chase Elliott. In Duel number 2, in row number 3, it will be Ty Gibbs and Christopher Bell. My favorite driver that's on the come up, Justin Allgaier. Anyone that's going to be represented with Dale Jr., at some point, Justin is going to be in the Cup Series. And again, it'll be awesome to be able to see Dale Jr. go from where he was with the Xfinity Series. And hopefully we'll be able to get Justin up here in the Cup Series full time sooner than later. In row 4, Austin Cindric, Zane Smith, and Michael McDowell in row 5. Connor Zilisch and Eric Jones in row 6. Row 7, Josh Berry and Carson Hocevar. Riley Herbst and Todd Gilliland in row 8. Anthony Alfredo and Ty Dillon in row 9. And Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Tyler Reddick in row 10. And then at the very back end in the Duel number 2 will be BJ McLeod and J.J. Yaley. Now, I was trying to get, good driving photos for, all of the individuals and whatnot. But again, sometimes, they weren't really up to par. So I had to go for cars on some of them with the ones that we're going to format. But again, there's not really a whole lot going on in the month of February. You got pretty much racing and the NBA. And with the 2 NBA games that we have on today, on Prime, no Giannis, no SGA. And then obviously in the second game, no Luka and no Cooper Flag. So I felt there's no real reason to do the NBA if none of the superstars are playing. Plus, I like a NASCAR a little bit more anyways. I feel like my tiers of sports go MLB at the top with college football, NFL, and NASCAR all tied for second. And again, I really love, watching racing. And again, being a Dale Earnhardt guy, from the 80s. And then a Dale Jr. guy, and then obviously a Bill Elliott and a Chase Elliott guy. I like father-son combos, and I'm definitely excited to be able to see where we're going to get with the action here tonight in the Duel 1 and 2. And I will be doing the NASCAR Cup Series Daytona 500 on Sunday. That'll be on at 11:30 a.m. Pacific. It's on a little bit early. Now, we do have some of the NBA All-Star festivities that I probably will tap into a little bit on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The one gripe I have about that is kind of the format. They need to go back to just traditional East and West, but that's for another stream on another day. And definitely excited to see what we get here. Marine Bean in the building. What's good? Yeah, and this is my first time debuting the hat. It kind of gives you, that 4th of July kind of vibes and whatnot, which was a giveaway in the last 2 years when you end up seeing me cover Mariner games. And I haven't debuted the hat. I've had to kind of get the right kind of, I'm still going to have to kind of mold the build and whatnot. I'm still waiting on a few hats coming through NASCAR. Obviously, some of them have gotten pretty expensive. I was looking at a Intimidator hat, almost $50. Even just a straight NASCAR hat with just the NASCAR logo, usually over 40. So, and then I saw a few Chase Elliott hats that I was kind of interested in. But again, with shipping and everything else, I have to be very selective. And again, I figured I would just debut this one until we end up getting some of those coming in the mail at some time in the near future. This is a global broadcast here of the Duel at Daytona 1 and 2. If you want to watch along, it'll be on FS1 at Daytona International Speedway. Hope everyone is having a fantastic day. And again, let's go through the field one more time. And again, it did take me a little while to get the photos, but again, if you put in the time and the effort, it definitely will be something that you will be rewarded. So again, Kyle Busch getting the pole recently. And again, it's not like that's something that happens to him, very often. So congratulations to Kyle Busch with the pole at the Daytona 500. He's in row 1 here today with Ryan Preece. In row 2 will be Corey Heim and Alex Bowman from Hendrick Motorsports. In row 3 will be Chris Buescher and Joey Logano. In row 4 will be Austin Dillon and Corey LaJoie. In row 5 will be John Hunter Nemechek and Big Bad Brad Keselowski. I saw him walking with a cane in the last few days. I hope that he's okay. Ryan Blaney and William Byron in row 6. Cole Custer and Cody Ware in row 7. And if I can find a good photo of Cody Ware, I'll be able to have that if he ends up climbing to the top. The OG vet Hall of Famer Jimmy Johnson and Bubba Wallace in row 8. AJ Allmendinger and Ross Chastain in row 9. SVG Shane Van Gisbergen and Daniel Suarez in row 10. Chandler Smith and Casey Mears in row 11, and then by himself in row 12, Noah Gragson. And then once we get into Duel number 2, we'll be able to go over the photos of those individuals. Very cool to be able to see Jimmy Johnson participate in the Duel. Same thing with Tony Stewart for the first time in a long time, in over 10 years. He's going to be doing the Truck Series, and I'll be doing a little bit of each, field. And again, I think Xfinity got to what O'Reilly and whatnot with the different sponsorships. So I'll be doing a little bit of the Cup Series, a little bit of the O'Reilly/Xfinity Series, and obviously a little bit of the Truck Series as well. But anytime you end up getting one of the old school vets, whether it be Tony Stewart or Dale Jr. or Jimmy Johnson, it's kind of exciting. You know that they're not going to win, but just to be able to have them out there is a little piece of nostalgia for a lot of us that grew up watching racing in the 80s or 90s, or even for some of you in the room that may have been watching even earlier than that in the 60s and the 70s. Mike Joy, Kevin Harvick, and Clint Boyer in the booth. And again, I hope everyone is having a fantastic day here on this Thursday afternoon And again, Duel 1 and Duel 2 here at Daytona. Very excited. I've been a fan for a very long time. I will be doing the Daytona 500, and then we will be doing races pretty much every week until we get into baseball season. And then once we get into baseball season, then it'll be a little bit hit or miss, because I will be typically doing Mariners every day. But depending on the time, if there is a chance for me to do a race and a Mariner game once we get into baseball season at the end of March, I'm going to push and I'm going to try to do that. But sometimes they overlap, and then I just have to kind of pick and choose. Anybody got a favorite on who's going to win here in the Duel 1 and Duel 2? And again, we just went over Duel 1, and let's go over Duel 2 here, and that'll be after this race is over. Duel 2 will lead off on the pole. There will be Chase Briscoe and Denny Hamlin in row 1, and this is in Duel 2 after this race is over. Then we got Hendrick Motorsports champion from last year, Kyle Larson, and my favorite driver, Napa Know-How, Chase Elliott in row 2 with Kyle Larson, Ty Gibbs and Christopher Bell in row 3. My favorite driver, obviously on the up and up, Justin Allgaier with Dale Jr. and Austin Cindric in row 4, Zane Smith and Michael McDowell in row 5, Connor Zilich and Eric Jones in row 6, Josh Berry, Carson Hocevar in row 7, Riley Herbst and Todd Gilliland in row 8, Anthony Alfredo and Ty Dillon in row 9, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr., to a lot of us, Ricky Spinhouse Jr., Tyler Reddick in row 10, and BJ McLeod and JJ Yaley in row 11 in Duel number 2. So that's where we're sitting right now if you're just tuning in. If you want to get a quick recap before we get this started, seems like we have a few commercial breaks. Let's go in and tap in again one last time here for the drivers here in Duel number 1. Leading off in the front of the pack, Kyle Busch getting his pole there at Daytona. Congratulations to Kyle Busch. Rowdy Nation is proud of you. With him in row 1 here tonight will be Ryan Preece. In row 2, Corey Heim and Alex Bowman in row 2 here in Duel number 1. In row 3, Chris Buescher and Joey Logano. He's got to be a favorite here in the race in Duel number 1. Austin Dillon and Corey LaJoy in row number 4. John Hunter Nemechek and Big Bad Brad Keselowski in row number 5. Ryan Blaney and William Byron here in row 6 should be favorites in this race as well. Cole Custer and Cody Ware in row 7. Jimmy Johnson and Bubba Wallace here in row number 8. AJ Allmendinger and Ross Chastain, Public Enemy number 1, in row number 9. Shane Van Gisbergen, SVG. We know he can do the road courses, but can you do well here? We will find out. He's paired up with Daniel Suarez in row number 10 with a new team this year. Chandler Smith and Casey Mears on the back end in row 11, and by himself in row 12, Noah Gragson. Very excited to be able to see how this one pans out. Marine Bean in the building. Daniel in the building. What's good, baby? Let's go. Yeah, I wasn't able, again, I was kind of pressed for time, so I wasn't able to get every single, 2026 new photo. So sometimes I had to kind of relay on what I already had in the bucket for previous old streams. And again, if I can end up finding a good, see, that's the thing, for me to be able to get the photos that are HD and 4K, sometimes you'll be able to find a really nice photo, but it just won't format or the size won't fit the full screen. So I want it to be as clean as possible. And for me to be able to do that, I got to have to, cherry pick and kind of go through them. And sometimes I'll find something amazing, but it just doesn't fit, or it doesn't really look as good as I thought once the original format started to kind of progress. But again, we will see if we can get some updated photos for a few that I only was able to get, with the car itself, like Cody Ware and a few of the others, and Casey Mears. But, these guys are kind of lower end guys and whatnot. So we'll see where it goes. But for a majority of these ones, besides Cody Ware, and I'll look to see if I can find one, Casey Mears, Zane Smith, and then obviously BJ McLeod there on the back end. But for the most part, besides maybe 3 or 4 drivers, I was able to get those newer photos, or at least photos that are somewhat recent. And again, we will see if I can find a newer one of Daniel Suarez at some point during a commercial break. Judah in the building. What's good? Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. And we're just waiting for the commercial break. and we'll be ready at it here in the NASCAR Cup Series Duel at Daytona 1 and 2. And Judah, again, if we could have some players that would be healthy, then I could have considered doing, the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. But no Giannis and no SGA, so that's a no for me. No Cooper Flag and no Luka. And obviously in the second game between the Mavs and the Lakers, so that's another no for me. And, LeBron by himself isn't just good enough for me. And again, I like NASCAR more than the NBA, so, it just kind of makes sense to be able to tap into Duel 1 and Duel 2. And again, I will be doing a little bit of the coverage of NBA All-Star Weekend. We will be doing the Daytona 500 on Sunday as well. And again, I just have to kind of pick and choose depending on what the events are. And that's what we'll be tapped into here for the next few days. Yeah, and again, I feel like we have more, major superstar injuries in the first half of the season than I can ever remember. And it's definitely hurting the ratings for the NBA overall, but, that's not going to be an issue here with NASCAR. So I did see. So not only did they make the big trade that we were talking about last night, and then he ended up being injured and he's going to be out for the whole year. So, can you say that they maybe got fleeced, to a certain degree, expecting him to play this season, and now they're going to have to wait until next season to even get a piece of the new puzzle added on to the roster. What a damn shame. All right, we got Clint Boyer and Kevin Harvick in the booth. Yeah, I don't think we've seen a massive trade like that, where you have so many individuals that are involved, and then obviously they kind of knew that there was maybe some underlining issues, but to be able to not even play once you get traded, obviously they should have done, more physicals, before it was all said and done. But he will be a key component for the Jazz next year, but that definitely doesn't help him this year. So I think Memphis did know. I think that they kept it a little hush-hush, and again, they went through some preliminary, type of physicals and making sure a player's okay. But sometimes, once the player comes in and they get checked by their doctors, sometimes things change a little bit. So Richard thinks Bubba Wallace, winner of Duel number 1. That is a good option there. And again, there should be a few individuals that should be racing hard here today. I'm excited. Let's go. Trying to break in this new hat. This is a giveaway that I've had sitting in a bag for a year. So it's going to take me some time to kind of get the right feel for it, but I figured this would be a good time to debut it. Yeah, they were a long shot, like you said, but again, you don't expect to trade so many pieces and then to have a guy out for the whole year. Not a good look by Memphis, and definitely not a good look for the Jazz. Agreed. And we got the cars on the track. Again, one last time, Kyle Busch and Ryan Preece in row 1, Corey Heim and Alex Bowman in row 2, Chris Buescher and Joey Logano in row 3, Austin Dillon and Corey LaJoie in row 4, John Hunter Nemechek and Big Bad Brad Keselowski in row 5, Ryan Blaney and William Byron in row 6, Cole Custer and Cody Ware in row 7, Jimmy Johnson, the vet, with Bubba Wallace in row 8, AJ Allmendinger and Ross Chastain in row 9, SVG, Shane Van Giersbergen and Daniel Suarez in row 10, and Chandler Smith and Casey Mears in row 11 with Noah Gragson in row 12. I got a new Daniel Suarez photo because, again, I was kind of pressed for time. But let's replace the old Suarez car and sponsorship with the new one here. Let me get this situated. All right, let's go here. And we got to go all the way up. And let's eliminate this other one. And here we go. Boom. And then we'll end up getting another, one of the car or him and the car at some point. So let's add this to the NASCAR file. And that's really the main one that I needed to change, besides some of the lower drivers that I wasn't really able to find good photos of Cody Ware, Casey Mears, and Zane Smith and BJ McLeod. But, those guys aren't going to be, we would assume, that far up front, but it is what it is. Yeah, so they're splitting it off into two different races. So they got half of the field in one race, and then we will find out the winner of that. And then we have half of the racers in the other race. So it's something that they split up to make it two different races, which is kind of exciting. It's all for position for the Daytona 500. So it's kind of just an exhibition race to get you hyped up for Daytona 500 this weekend. But also it's for positioning, based on where they're going to be sitting this weekend. So again, there is, something on the line. It's just not pure for fun. There is, money on the line, and pride on the line, and position on the line, and Uncle Mo and momentum on the line in the Daytona 500. So it's kind of exciting, and instead of just having one race, and go, it's still going to be around, I would assume, about 3 hours. Each race, depending on how many cautions we get, should be about an hour to an hour and a half per race. So, and usually probably around an hour, hour and 15 minutes, if I'm being honest. So, but if we have a lot of wrecks or a lot of cautions, it could stretch out a little bit further. But the total amount of time between Duel 1 and Duel 2, I would assume, is going to be in that 2 hours and 30 minutes to 3 hours and 15-minute range, somewhere in there, but probably around 3 hours before this one is all over. $60 laps, 150 miles. 60 laps per race. All right, here we go. Pace car is going off the track. Let's go. 150 miles. And here we go. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys. Let's go. And again, much different than, the clash at Bowman Gray, in a little oval short track. When these guys wreck, they're going to be going at much higher speeds. And again, the track is much bigger than Bowman Gray. And it really does give you a sense of what you're going to get when we go to the Daytona 500 this weekend. And I'm definitely interested to see how the Chevys and Fords battle it out with the Toyotas here tonight. And very surprised that, Kyle Busch was able to get the pole at the Daytona 500. But again, one of those guys that has had, a few years of, ups and downs, more downs than ups. And again, it's nice to be able to see him accomplish something here. And Priest just edging out Kyle Busch for lap number 1. Priest, Busch, Bowman, Heim, and Logano in your top 5. Dillon, Buescher, Nemechek, LaJoie, and Blaney in your top 10. And in the outside is Big Bad Brad Keselowski. I love the paint schemes. I love the, the team camaraderie. And again, it feels like it's the one sport where you end up having sponsors, and it's not that big of a deal. Now, when it ends up bleeding over to the NBA, the NFL, NHL, MLB, and we start to see a bunch of extra sponsors on the jerseys, that gets a little annoying, And again, it's all about money, and I get that. But as far as NASCAR, you can't have enough sponsors on the cars or on their race gear. Priest, Busch, Heim, Bowman, and Dillon in your top 5. Logano, Nemechek, Buescher, LaJoie, and Blaney in your top 10. And this is on FS1 if you want to watch along. Priest looking very strong here early. Priest, Busch, Heim, Bowman, and Dillon in your top 5. Logano, Nemechek, Buescher, Blaney, and LaJoie in your top 10. And again, there's going to be a few wrecks, in Duel 1 and Duel 2, you would assume. How big of a wreck are we going to get? A minor or a major? A couple cars or 5 or more? We'll have to wait and find out. Dillon trying to get a good push there for Heim. And that bottom line seems like it's a little bit of the faster line. And again, Dillon got a nice push there. And Dillon, wow, what a move. Dillon just, trying to get himself in position for second and then was able to get ahead of Heim and now in first. It pays to be able to have someone as a draft partner to be able to give you that fast line early and often. As we know, Austin Dillon, the 2018 Daytona 500 winner. Dillon, Nemechek, Heim, Blaney, and Priest in your top 5. Logano, Busch, Custer, Bowman, and Buescher in your top 10. Kyle Busch going from first all the way dropping down 6 spots to 7th. And we'll see if he can recover. And John Hunter Nemechek making a pass on Dillon. We're getting a lot of action here up front. And it seems like that lower line is a little bit faster, at least so far here at the beginning of Duel number 1 at the Daytona 500. We're in lap 6 here out of 60, 55 to go. Nemechek, Blaney, Dillon, Logano, Heim in your top 5. Custer, Priest, Custer, Busch, Bowman, and Jimmy Johnson making a way into the top 10 as we speak. Buescher on the outside looking in. I love the paint schemes. Such beautiful cars and paint schemes that we're seeing here in 2026. And we are seeing quite a few, new individuals with new teams, new numbers, and new sponsors. And if you want to watch along, this is on FS1 as a global broadcast. And I assume Joey Logano will be able to make a good push at some point here in the next 10 to 15 laps. Nemechek, Dillon, Blaney. Dillon, Nemechek battling it out for the front of the pace. Dillon, Nemechek, Priest, Buescher, Blaney in your top 5. LaJoie and Logano trading spots as well. Custer, Keselowski, and Kyle Busch going from 1st to 10th. I'm not sure what's going on with his car here today, but after getting the pole for the Daytona 500, you assume that he was going to be up front for at least a little bit, but having a little bit of struggles here in Duel number 1. RFK Racing, Priest, Buescher, LaJoie, and Keselowski, 3rd, 5th, 7th, and 9th. RFK doing very well here early. 4 drivers in the top 9. Austin Dillon here now on the high line. Dillon, Nemechek, Priest, Buescher, and Blaney in your top 5. We're on lap 8, 53 to go here in Duel number 1. No big wrecks just yet. Plenty of space for these drivers to be able to pick up top speed, not like at the Clash of Bowman Gray where you have that small oval. You don't really get the top end speed. And, when one guy breaks, it kind of turns into a domino effect for everyone behind them. Not so much in this race unless you end up getting to a certain point on turn 1 or turn 2. Dylan, Priest, Nemechek, Busher, and Blaney in your top 5. LaJoy, Logano, Keselowski, Custer, and Bowman in your top 10. And the duel at Daytona Beach, Florida. Dylan, Priest, Busher, LaJoy, and Nemechek in your top 5. I can't believe they're not doing a split screen. I get it, it's not the Daytona 500, but at least give me a split screen of what's going on. Come on, FS1. It'll take me a while to break in this new hat. And hopefully they'll get back to the action here sooner than later. I'm very shocked that we don't have a split screen. You know, and normally NASCAR is very good about that, you know, to be able to, I mean, even if it ends up being just a small screen and the commercial ends up being, you know, twice the size or 3 times the size, so be it. But at least give me a picture-in-picture so I can see what's going on. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it. Bang, bang. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. Oh, this is killing me. And obviously with the Daytona 500, you know, they will be doing more, you would assume, picture-in-picture. Again, this is going to be not ideal if this is going to be a similar type of format, but that'll be on Fox, not on FS1. So, you know, I think that they understand us racing fans want to be able to see every second of the action. We don't want to have any commercials interrupt, you know, especially when we only have 60 laps, you know, for the Duel 1 and Duel 2. Get out of these commercials. Let's go. Come on, FS1. You're killing me out here. I know I'm not the only one. Let's go. I'm definitely looking forward to duel number 2 with my favorite driver, Napa Know-How, Chase Elliott. And again, hasn't won the Daytona 500. I think the highest position for him was 2nd. And now we're back into the action here in lap 13. And obviously it feels like there hasn't been anything major wreck-wise. Otherwise, they would have mentioned it right here at the beginning of the broadcast after the commercial. All right, here we go. Finally back into the action here on lap 13. How dare you go away from the action, FS1? That bottom line is the fast line. Priest, Busher, LaJoy, Keselowski, and Nemechek in your top 5. Blaney, Dylan, Logano, Bowman, and Gregson in your top 10. Nice to see Noah go from the very bottom of the field, and he's now in position to be in the top 10. Very impressive for Noah. And on the outside looking in is William Byron. We're on lap 14, 47 to go. And the way that they have these picture-in-pictures, that's how they should be able to do the commercials as well. Like, even give me that small box on the top left and then run your commercial for the rest of the, window. But don't eliminate everything. Us racing fans have been just waiting patiently. We want to be able to soak in every piece of the action until we get into the Daytona 500. Priest very strong here today. We got 2 Fords up front. Actually, count that. 4 Fords up front and then a Toyota. 2 Fords after that. And then finally, Dylan and Bowman with some Chevys in the top 10. So definitely heavily dominated by Fords here in the top 10. Only 1 Toyota with Nemechek at the 5th position. And then in 8th and 9th, you have Dylan and Bowman. And all the rest of the Chevys are, beyond 10th place. Open teams in the Duel 1, LaJoy, Smith, and Mears. Top finisher will make the Daytona 500, and we assume that's going to be Corey LaJoy. I mean, a little bit more skilled than the other two drivers and has a little bit more experience. 45 to go. We're on lap 16. Priest, Busher, LaJoy, Keselowski, Nemechek in your top 5. Blaney, Logano, Gregson, Dillon, and Bowman in your top 10. Very impressed with the Fords here early on. Top speed for Priest, around 185, 186. Peaking at 187.50. See if he gets to 188, maybe closer to 190 if they can find a little bit of rhythm here. And I'm a little surprised that Kyle Busch dropped down so many positions. That's kind of how it's been for him, you know, over the years. It's been tough sledding for Rowdy Nation. Yeah, again, they're expensive, you know, and I'm kind of a stickler on, you know, different styles and whatnot. You know, even just a plain NASCAR hat is usually 40 to 50 bucks. You know, they had a nice Intimidator Dale Earnhardt senior hat, you know, over 50 bucks. And then there's been a few Chase Elliott, you know, Napa hats that I've been looking at. I've been looking at like a black one or a white one, but again, it has that kind of the thing on the top where it's kind of like a golf hat. And I'm not really big on those, you know, and unfortunately, when you end up going to the NASCAR website, there isn't really too many, you know, that really suit me. You know, I'd rather have it without the little string, you know, thing on the top and whatnot. I don't know. That doesn't really look that good to me, but you know, if I were to get one, definitely I'd be looking at like a white Napa hat. You know, obviously Chase will rock the white or the black, but again, kind of expensive. And again, it kind of depends on the style. They, you know, sell maybe, you know, normal like blue Napa hats, but it's not like the ones that like Chase wears and whatnot. So they don't have, you know, if you want to be able to get, you know, like something like Chase Elliott wears, you know, through, you know, Napa, you have to go through NASCAR.com or Hendrick Motorsports. So you're not going to be able to go to your Napa locally and typically find a hat. And if you do, it's not going to be the same ones that the drivers wear. It's just going to be like a standard blue Napa hat. And for me, if I'm going to get one and I'm going to spend 40 or 50 bucks, you know, I want to make sure I get a Chase Elliott, you know, authentic hat. So Priest, Busher, LaJoy, Keselowski, and Nemechek in your top 5. Blaney, Logano, Byron, Busch, and Bowman in your top 10. You know, it's just like with the Oregon Duck hats that I was looking at, because again, if you wear anything green or yellow, it obviously gets distorted. And there's not a lot of hats that are pure white or pure black. And again, I have to, you know, kind of be patient on, you know, looking on eBay as well as, you know, different websites to see if I can find something that I can wear on stream. I did find a really nice beanie, but it ends up being black and green. And if I wear it, you know, you can't even see it. It's all distorted. So I have a lot of gear that unfortunately I'm not able to wear with the green screen. But again, you know, that's why it's something that you have to be very patient, you know, to be able to try to find the right styles. But, you know, if I can find a nice Chase Elliott Napa white hat with the 9 on the side that doesn't have that string, you know, on the top, I'll pull the trigger and I'll buy it, but I just haven't been able to find one through Hendrick Motorsports or through Napa and through Chase Elliott just yet. But, you know, I'm kind of a stickler. You know, if I'm going to be spending 40, 50 bucks for a hat, I have to love it, you know, not just like it. And we're off to another commercial break. And hopefully we'll be able to get back to the action here sooner than later. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. But I love father-son combos, obviously with Dale Earnhardt and Dale Earnhardt Jr., Bill Elliott, Chase Elliott. And again, it's one of those things that prices have, skyrocketed within the last few years. Back in the day, you were able to get, a pretty nice hat, regardless if it was baseball, basketball, football, hockey, or NASCAR, maybe for, I don't know, $20, $25. But now, you're looking at $40, $50 now, which is kind of a little spendy. You got to be able to kind of pick and choose. So hopefully this will be one of the last commercials here, and we'll get back into the action. Duel 1 and Duel 2 here at Daytona, giving us a little bit of a preview as we get ready for the Daytona 500 on Fox at 11:30 Pacific on Sunday, which I will be doing. Takes a while to break in a hat, let me tell you. The Truck Series, and I'll definitely be tuning in a little bit to that. Not sure if I'm going to do that over like the Rising Stars for the NBA. And again, I don't really like the format of everything that they're doing with the Rising Stars, kind of doing them in separate teams, just like in the NBA All-Star game. I think it's a horrible format. But again, I will be watching, a little bit of the O'Reilly Xfinity Series and the Truck Series. And Tony Stewart is going to be racing in that Truck Series tomorrow. So I'm kind of intrigued. I'm going to, definitely watch. Will I do a stream of it? Not too sure, but, we'll have to wait and see. All right, we're on lap 24. 37 to go. Priest, Buescher, LaJoie, Keselowski, and Busch finally climbing back up to the top 5. Nice job by Rowdy Nation and Kyle Busch. Nemechek, Blaney, Logano, Smith, and Corey Heim in 10th position. On the outside looking in is Cole Custer and Bubba Wallace. William Byron in 13th. I believe only one scheduled pit stop for the Duel 1 and the Duel 2, considering it's only 60 laps. So that low line is starting to pull away, and it's all Fords. Priest, Buescher, LaJoie, Keselowski, all with the Fords. Rowdy Nation with the only Chevy. Back-to-back Fords with Blaney and Logano. And then you have two Toyotas in the top 10 finally with Nemechek and Heim. And then another Ford with Smith in the 10th position. RFK Racing, first, second, third, and fourth. It doesn't get any better than that for RFK Racing. Priest, Buescher, LaJoie, and Keselowski all in the first 4 positions. And that is something you never see in racing. I mean, unless you see like Hendrick Motorsports, with Byron and Bowman and Elliott and obviously Larson, going 1, 2, 3, 4. But even that is pretty rare. All right, fuel window is open. 35 to go on lap 26. No major wrecks just yet. And that low line definitely has the momentum here in the Daytona 500 Duel number 1. 34 laps to go out of 60 total for Duel 1 and Duel 2. Very impressive by the Fords here early on. They got all of the first top 5 positions. Priest, Buescher, LaJoie, Keselowski, and looks like Kyle Busch just passed Blaney to get that Chevy in the 5th position. Xfinity fastest lap. Priest at 190.69. Big Bad Brad at second. Mears, LaJoie, and Buescher third, fourth, and fifth for fastest lap. All 190 and above. 28 laps in. 33 to go. Jamie Little, the OG. Priest, Buscher, LaJoy, Keselowski, Blaney in your top 5. Logano, Busch, trading spots. Nemechek, Smith, and Heim in your top 10. Nice to see Busch be able to go from first, dropping out of the top 10, and then for Rowdy Nation being able to get back into the top 5. And hopefully for Rowdy Nation and fans of Kyle Busch, he'll have a little bit more consistency in 2026. It's been kind of tough sledding for him. Damn, another commercial. You're killing me with these commercials here. Very shocked that they're not doing a picture-in-picture. I mean, I get it. It's not the Daytona 500, but at least, with the Clash, they were able to give me at least a little picture-in-picture. I mean, it's not like this race is like 300 laps or 250 laps. I mean, we're talking 60 per race. And you don't want commercials to eat up, a third of the race. And especially if there ends up being a big wreck, you're not going to see it live. If it keeps out on this kind of pace, you're going to have to see it, potentially in a replay with the announcers discussing it after the fact. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. We're at the Duel at Daytona, Duel number 1, here on FS1. Oh, man, they're killing me with these commercials here. Let's get back to the action, baby. Let's go. And I apologize for me breaking in this hat as often as I am. But again, I've had it for a year and it's been sitting in a plastic bag. And so it's going to take me a while to kind of get it where I want it. All right, we're back to the action finally after that commercial break here on lap 33. 28 to go. Priest, Buscher, LaJoy, Keselowski, and Kyle Busch in your top 5. Nemechek, Smith, Blaney, Logano, and Wallace in your top 10. Cole Custer just taking that spot from Bubba, and Bubba shifts down to 11th. And I'm kind of surprised that Priest has been able to maintain that top spot for a majority of the race. I'm on 33, so I'm not sure if you're watching it on, on a streaming link or something of that nature, but it's lap 33. 28 to go. So again, depending on where you're watching, how you're watching, it may be a little bit different, but I'm watching, it through FS1, so we're on lap 34, 27 to go. Yeah, you're behind then. We're on lap 34 here. Priest, Buscher, LaJoy, Keselowski, Kyle Busch in your top 5. Nemechek, Blaney, Smith, Logano swapping spots, and Bubba Wallace finally cracking the top 10. Lap 34, 27 to go. What are you watching your broadcast on, Richard? Are you watching it on like satellite or cable, or are you watching it through like a link on the internet? If you end up watching it, through your cell phone, it'll be faster than it is through your TV. And then I've noticed that with every sport. That's kind of how it goes. If you end up having a cell phone and you have the app, and then you link it to your, cable provider, if you have one, that's going to give you typically, a faster look, compared to watching it, on the computer or watching it on a TV or through an app. So we're on lap 35, 26 to go. Priest, Buscher, LaJoie, Keselowski, Kyle Busch in your top 5. Blaney, Nemechek, Logano, Smith, and Wallace cracking the top 10. I like the trifecta camera angle that they got going on here. You get the race at the bottom, and then you get inside and behind the car there at the top. Little bump there by Joey Logano. $25 to go. Cell phone, and on the cell phone, are you watching it through FS1 directly, or are you watching it through a streaming link? Because streaming links are going to be behind about 30 seconds to a minute. So we're on lap 37, 24 to go. Oh, wow. Busch already climbing up to the second position, but then dropping down to 4th, starting to make a little bit of progress here. Now they'll be having to hit the pits here soon. Priest showing his dominance at the top with Chris Buescher and Corey LaJoie. Love me some Larry McReynolds. And that's one thing I think NASCAR really does excel at, is the coverage and the people that are involved in NASCAR compared to other sports, where you end up watching, the NFL or the MLB or the NHL or the NBA. And sometimes you end up having, former players, and again, it's one thing that, to be an amazing athlete, but not every athlete is going to be good on the mic. And that's one thing NASCAR, does a pretty damn good job compared to some of the other sports as far as the coverage and the individuals they have involved. 22 to go. We're on lap 39. Priest, Buescher, LaJoie, Keselowski, Nemechek in your top 5. Busch, Logano, Smith, Blaney, and Cole Custer in your top 10. And on the outside looking in is Ross Chastain. $21 to go. We're on lap 40. That green flag stop, you're going to see some of these drivers coming in at some point. Four Fords up front with Priest, Buescher, LaJoie, and Big Bad Brad Keselowski, and one lone Toyota in the top 10 in Nemechek. We're on lap 40, 21 to go. On lap 41, 20 to go here for duel number 1. And again, if we continue at this type of pace, we know that there is going to be one green flag stop, but Priest definitely has looked the best from the beginning of the race into this point. Has been very dominant up front with that clean air with those Fords. Okay, lap 44 or 45 for those green flag stops. So another, 1 to 3 laps, and we should be able to get some individuals hitting the pits here. Priest, 35 of 41 laps up front. Very impressive. And he's been very dominant from the very beginning. Priest up front, Busher in second, and LaJoy in third. We're on lap 43, 18 to go. Priest, Busher, LaJoy, Keselowski, Nemechek in your top 5. Bush, Smith, Logano, Blaney, Chastain round out the top 10. All right. Yeah, they're going to see what Priest does here. All right, here we go. They're going to be hitting the pits here on the end of lap 44 going into lap 45 here. We're on lap 44, 17 to go. Priest, Busher, LaJoy, Keselowski, Nemechek in your top 5. Bush, Logano, Blaney, Smith, Chastain rounding out your top 10. Yeah, I mean, it's only 60 laps, so everyone's coming in. Ford's dominating this race in the top 10. All right, we're on lap 45. 16 to go. All right, here they come. All the Fords coming in. Oh, we got a wreck into the pits. Is that Gregson? Uh-oh, we got a caution. Wow. Yeah, maybe they can get clear and they won't have to have a caution come out. That's wild. You wouldn't assume that they would be wrecking going into the pits there. Fords all came out, and now we have the Chevys. And caution is finally waived because they're stuck. Oh, my. We're on lap 46, 15 to go. Chevys are still out there, and almost all of those Fords ended up hitting the pit. Oh, Casey Mears. Got to get it out of the grass there. 14 to go. We're on lap 47. Custer, Busch, Bowman, Dillon, Byron in your top 5, since they didn't go and hit the pits with the Fords. Wallace, Chastain, SVG, Suarez, and Allmendinger in your top 10 at the moment. Watch coming to pit road here. Be Mears and Gragson there. And Mears just loses control and then kind of wrecks into Noah Gragson. So nothing Noah could have done in that position, and that's just on Mears. And both of those guys ended up starting this race at the very back end. Mears was row 11 and Gragson was by himself in row 12. So it's what's on the broadcast. If you got to be watching it live, not watching it, on a streaming link when you're 30 seconds to a minute behind and 4 or 5 laps behind. Getting a little bit of fuel. Most individuals just grabbing fuel, but a few grabbing some tires there. Casey Mears into Noah Gragson for the first caution, trying to go into the pits. And we are only a few laps away to find out who's going to end up winning Duel number 1. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. $19 subs to go to 23,400. Really, the only gripe I have so far here with the Duel at Daytona is just with these commercials and not having a picture-in-picture. But other than that, it's been a pretty clean race besides that little mini wreck that we had with Casey Mears and Noah Gragson kind of running into each other as they were entering the pits. And it's been a pretty dominant race from the very beginning for Ryan Preece. Duel at Daytona with only a few laps to go to find out who's going to end up winning Duel number 1. And then looking forward to Duel number 2 with Chase Elliott, Napa Know How. Hopefully he'll end up having a strong run here in Duel number 2. All right, under caution with 12 laps to go. The Baja kit, huh? All right, 12 to go. I'm with the only individual taking tires there on lap 49. And here we go. Back to green flag racing. And I assume we'll end up getting at least a little bit of more aggressive racing here with these last 11 laps to go. Whoa. Joey Logano getting himself in good position here on the high line. Buescher on the low line. They're battling it out. The low line has been the faster line for a majority of the race. All right, we got Logano, Buescher, Blaney, Keselowski, LaJoie in your top 5. Smith, Priest, Nemechek, Dillon, and Wallace in your top 10. Good opportunity here for Joey Logano to end up winning this. Buescher and Logano going at it. You got 4 Fords, 5, 6 Fords in the first 6 spots. Buescher, Logano, Blaney, Keselowski, Smith, and LaJoie. Smith and LaJoie with those open cars. You know, whoever finishes in the higher spot is going to make it to the Daytona 500. A race within a race. 9 to go. Logano starting to pull away here on the high line. And Blaney behind him trying to give him a little bit of a push. And you got Big Bad Brad and Buescher there on the bottom line. Eight laps to go. Logano, Buescher, Blaney, Keselowski, Smith in your top 5. LaJoie, Dillon, Nemechek, Wallace, and Busch in your top 10. Logano and Blaney kind of pushing away now with those Fords. 7 to go. Yeah, no point for Busch to try to be overly aggressive. 3 wide. Six to go. Logano, Blaney, Dillon, Wallace, Busher in your top 5. Keselowski, Byron, LaJoy, Smith, and Nemechek in your top 10. We're on lap 55. 6 to go. Wow, side by side for that last spot. LaJoy in 8th, Smith in 9th, and they trade spots now. Smith in 8th, LaJoy in 9th. A race within a race. Bubba Wallace making a nice run here, now in 3rd place. The only Toyota in the top 10. 5 to go. Oh, big wreck. Oh. Wallace, Byron, and many others. Wow. You knew there was going to be that big wreck, you know, with 5 to 10 to go. And Bubba climbed all the way up into the top 3. That's tough. Busher's in the grass. There was about 4 or 5 cars involved there, maybe even more. Yellow is out. That's tough for Byron. Lap 57, 4 to go. And the first major wreck, you know, happened right there. You know, we obviously saw 2 cars going into the pits, you know, kind of bump into each other with Casey Mears and Noah Gragson, but this was the first major wreck up front. Bubba gets tapped from behind, and everyone's going sideways. And that's one thing that you're not going to be able to get, you know, at the Clash at Bowman Gray, you know, with a small oval. You know, you're going to get that top speed and Dillon tapping Bubba Wallace. Bubba's not going to be happy about that. Second caution here in duel number 1, and we're going to do a commercial break. We'll kind of wait to see after the dust all settles, but Bubba getting up front and obviously getting tapped behind from Austin Dillon, and that definitely led to a domino effect with a few different individuals getting wrecked with just a few laps to go here in the duel number 1 at Daytona. Just waiting for the commercial break to end, and we'll kind of see where the dust settles in the aftermath of that big wreck. Bubba getting tapped by Austin Dillon, causing that domino effect. But at least the flaps came up, so his car wasn't wrecked. And we just have a few laps to go here to find out who's going to win duel number 1. And first caution was going into the pits with Casey Mears tapping Noah Gragson, but obviously that last one with Dillon wrecking Bubba Wallace, getting a little bit loose, and then William Byron getting involved, as well as a few other cars. So we'll find out here in a moment how many cars are fully involved and what position each driver is in at this point, with just a few laps to go to decide the winner of duel number 1. And then as we get into duel number 2, definitely looking forward to seeing Briscoe and Hamlin and Larson and Elliott, Gibbs and Allgaier and Cindric and McDowell and Zilich and Jones, Berry, Hocevar, and many others. Really looking forward to that Daytona 500 on Sunday, 11:30 Pacific. All right, we got 2 to go. And again, hitting the pit at the right time definitely was crucial, because Priest dominated this race for a majority of it. But when they went into the pits, Fords went in first, and you ended up having the caution, and then the Chevys went after. But again, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And it's going to be very interesting to see who ends up winning this duel number 1. And then we'll have duel number 2 right after that. And I'm definitely excited to see if Chase Elliott, my favorite driver, can compete, for a chance to win the duel number 2. But Bubba finally getting up towards the front, the highest that he was prior to him getting wrecked from behind from Dillon and getting tapped, was 3rd. And just kind of a damn shame for Bubba Wallace and his fans. We assume that we're going to get another wreck kind of similar to this one in duel number 2. All right, Dillon, Busher, Wallace, Byron, and Smith were involved in the wreck. 5 cars on lap 56. And we're in overtime now in duel number 1. Now we got Logano, Blaney, Keselowski, LaJoie, and Dillon in your top 5. Suarez, Nemechek, SVG, Allmendinger, and Bowman in your top 10. Probably a pretty good chance that Joey Logano might come out with this.
Casey Mears is still in the race, but obviously he said.
And LaJoie is going to end up getting that last open spot, which we figured he would. All right, 2-lap shootout here in overtime. The leader takes that white flag. The next flag ends the race. Caution prior to the white flag causes a restart. Unlimited attempts. Logano, Blaney, Keselowski, LaJoie, and Dillon in your top 5. Daniel Suarez, Nemechek, SVG, and Allmendinger, as well as Bowman, round off your top 10. All right, we're in overtime here in the Daytona 500 Duel 1. Logano, Blaney, Keselowski, LaJoie, Dillon in your top 5. Suarez, Nemechek, SVG, Allmendinger, Bowman round out your top 10. And Ross Chastain on the outside looking in and 11th. Jimmy Johnson in 18th, kind of where I figured he would be, kind of like in the middle towards the back. Obviously, LaJoie with the most experience out of those three, so not really surprised that he'll end up getting that open spot over Mears and Smith, who are further back in the field. 16th for Mears, 20th for Smith, and LaJoie in 4th. Four Fords, 2 Chevys, 1 single Toyota with Nemechek, and then 3 Chevys to round out the top 10. All right, and here we go. Join getting a nice push there by Ryan Blaney. LaJoie getting a good push there for big bad Brad Keselowski. Brad taking the lead, but Joey on the high line getting a little bit closer and see if Blaney can give him a little push with that draft. 2 to go. We are in overtime here at the Duel number 1 at the Daytona 500. Logano and Keselowski neck and neck. Big bad Brad in the inside, Joey Logano on the outside. Joey getting a great push here by Ryan Blaney on the top side. 1 lap to go. We're in the final lap here. Who is going to win it? Is it going to be Logano? Is it going to be Big Bad Brad? And what will happen with Blaney and LaJoie right behind them? The inside line has been the fastest line, but you're definitely getting a nice push by Blaney with Logano on the high line. LaJoie is just not connected with Big Bad Brad, and he falls behind. Here we go. And it looks like Blaney gave enough of a push. I think Joey Logano is going to win this. And a big wreck. Domino effect right behind him. Wow. Joey Logano wins. Logano, Blaney, Dillon, Nemechek, Keselowski in your top 5. Wow. Big wrecks at the end. Man, LaJoie, wrong place, wrong time, and he won't be in the Daytona 500. Looks like Mears is going to take his spot for one of those open spots between those 3 drivers. Wow. Casey Mears getting incredibly lucky, especially wrecking into Noah Gragson, but he's going to end up getting to punch his ticket to the Daytona 500. Wow. And a mad wreck after the first 4 cars here on that last lap. Logano winning another duel to add to his resume. I'm not surprised. But again, if it wasn't for Ryan Blaney giving him a really good push on those last 2 laps, he wouldn't have won it. Logano, Blaney, Dillon, Nemechek, Keselowski in your top 5. SVG, Mears, Suarez, Priest, and Bowman round out the top 10. Megan in the building. How are you? Oh, that's good to hear. Been a nice celebration, for you for the last few days. Wow. Man, Mears, that's crazy. Kind of got caught up in the mix in that wreck there, but was able to shoot out just in time. And that's the first race being completed here for duel number 1, Joey Logano. And obviously we'll have duel 2 coming up. And we'll see who ends up representing in that particular race. And we'll go over the field here in a moment. And LaJoie should have been able to punch his ticket over Smith and Mears, but again, you end up having a big wreck. LaJoie was right in the mix of it. Mears was as well, but he was able to kind of avoid a majority of the damage, even though he did get kind of bounced around momentarily. Shot it to the outside, and he's going to punch his ticket to the Daytona 500. Good for him. Yeah, prayers up to him. Hope he feels better. Unofficial results. They're just trying to go through all the replays and whatnot. But Joey Logano winning duel number 1. And Casey Mears ends up punching his ticket as one of those open spots. And then as we get into duel number 2 in a few minutes, it'll be started off with Chase Briscoe and Denny Hamlin in row 1. Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott in row 2. Ty Gibbs and Christopher Bell in row 3. Justin Allgaier and Austin Cindric in row 4. Zane Smith and Michael McDowell in row 5. Connor Zilich and Eric Jones in row 6. Josh Berry and Carson Hocevar in row 7. Riley Herbst and Todd Gilliland in row 8. Anthony Alfredo and Ty Dillon in row 9. And Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Tyler Reddick in row 10, BJ McLeod, and JJ Yaley in row 11. So it'll be a few minutes before we get to that particular point for duel number 2 to start. But Joey Logano is your winner in the duel number 1. And definitely one of the top 3, drivers that were kind of predicted to win this race. And, definitely didn't dominate this race. This race was dominated by Ryan Priest, but once they ended up going in for the, mandatory, pit stop, you had all the Fords come in, then the Chevys came in, but right when the Fords came in, Casey Mears ended up tapping Noah Gragson into the pits. And again, you just weren't able to get back into that same type of position for Priest, who finishes the race 9th, even though he did dominate most of the race here in duel number 1. So it shows you it's not how you start, it's how you finish. But congratulations to the winner of duel number 1, which is Joey Logano. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train, and 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. And definitely looking forward to duel number 2. And I assume it'll be just as explosive as duel number 1. And between LaJoie, Smith, and Mears, there was only one open spot for the Daytona 500. And it kind of felt, like LaJoie, being the more experienced driver, was going to get the job done, but got caught up in the wreck with Casey Mears. Mears was able to get out of it. LaJoie was not, and that is the difference. tough break for Corey LaJoie. You know, he should have been able to punch his ticket, but you know, you got to be able to drive like a madman here late. And as you watch this replay and you see Casey Mears get caught up right in the mix of this wreck and just staying on the gas, going on the high side and just trying to get the hell out of there and just being able to find just enough room to avoid some excess damage. Congratulations to him. So Logano, Blaney, Dillon, Nemechek, Keselowski in your top 5. SVG, Mears, Suarez, Priest, and Bowman in your top 10. Yeah, I'm doing both. I mean, that's kind of the thing. You know, nobody's doing just one race because it's, you know, on the same channel. And once the first one ends, then they celebrate the winner, do some interviews, and then they get into a period where they do the next race. So, yeah, anybody that's streaming this particular race isn't just doing the first. They're doing the first and the second, so. So Joey Logano wins duel number 1. Casey Mears gets the open spot over Smith and LaJoie. And as we get into duel number 2, Chase Briscoe and Denny Hamlin will be in row 1. Kyle Larson and my favorite driver, Napa Know-How, Chase Elliott in row 2 for Hendrick Motorsports. Ty Gibbs and Christopher Bell in row 3. Justin Allgaier and Austin Cindric in row 4. Love seeing Dale Jr. do his thing, and hopefully Justin will be a full-time driver with Dale Jr. as a full-time owner in the NASCAR Cup Series sooner than later. Zane Smith and Michael McDowell in row 5. Connor Zilich and Eric Jones in row 6. Josh Berry and Carson Hocevar in row 7. Riley Herbst, Todd Gilliland in row 8. Anthony Alfredo and Ty Dillon in row 9. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Tyler Reddick in row 10. And to round out the field in duel number 2, BJ McLeod and JJ Yaley. So it'll take a few minutes for, you know, everything to get kind of settled in for the next race to start. But definitely looking forward to that. Oh, awesome. It's always cool to be able to, you know, be inside, you know, certain cars and to be able to get those type of views and whatnot. So, and obviously it's a global broadcast on FS1. The only gripe I think I have really with the race is the commercials. You know, they didn't have a picture-in-picture. And I get it. It's a duel, you know, but again, it's like no matter, you know, if it's an exhibition race, like at the Clash at Bowman Gray, or if it ends up being the race, you know, of all races, the Daytona 500 or something in between, you always want to be able to see the action. You never want just the commercial to take over the broadcast. And unfortunately, we missed probably a 4th or a 5th of the race with just the commercials, but we didn't miss any of the major wrecks. So I guess there's that. But we still have one more race to go here in duel number 2. And, you know, hopefully Chase Elliott will be able to do his thing. Yeah, a little weird that they only did one race and not the other, but at least it gives you an opportunity to watch along, unless you want to watch along on FS1. But obviously, if you're watching on HBO, it'll give you the ability to have those extra camera angles that FS1 will not be able to provide you. So, well, fun race to start it off, you know, getting you ready for the Daytona 500. And congratulations to Joey Logano for winning duel number 1. And again, he was one of the probably top 3, you know, drivers in that first duel race that were predicted to win. And it's not like he dominated the race. You know, the individual that led the most laps and dominated the race almost to the very end was Ryan Preece. But when they went to go take their mandatory pit stop, that's where things went a little sideways. All the Fords came in, Chevy stayed out. Then Casey Mears ran into the back of Noah Gragson. Caution came out, and that kind of changed the flow of the race the rest of the way. Jamie McMurray just going over kind of a quick recap here on FS1. And that's what's, crazy, about NASCAR. It's not how you start. It's not how you finish. It's not how you start. It's how you finish. And again, you can lead the most laps in the race, but again, you have to be able to put yourself in a good position late. And also you have to be able to avoid the big wreck. And again, a lot of drivers are not able to do that, especially at the end of the Daytona 500 or any race at Daytona. It's a lot different than a short track oval that we saw obviously at the Clash at Bowman Gray, where you don't really have a lot of top end speed and you have cars so close to each other. When one guy brake checks, it ends up being a domino effect. In this particular race, you're getting almost to 200 miles an hour, around 185 to 190 for a majority, and there's a little bit more wiggle room. But then when you end up wrecking, it typically ends up being 4 or 5 cars, not just 1 or 2, like we saw obviously those 2 cars that entered the pit with Gragson and Mears. But with Mears being in the first caution and still being able to avoid that last big wreck and finding a way to punch his ticket to the Daytona 500, congratulations to him. And I know LaJoy is feeling butthurt about the situation because it should have been him. But again, you got to be able to avoid the big wreck at the very end of the race. I mean, it just kind of depends on personality, and certain guys that are a little edgy. It's like Kyle Busch, for, Rowdy Nation. You either love him or you hate him. Same thing with Joey Logano. He's probably the second closest thing to Kyle Busch as far as being kind of edgy and whatnot. But they definitely have a certain type of skill set, but it just kind of depends on, brand, team, and also, Chevy, Ford, or Toyota. So there's a number of things. He's not my favorite driver, but I do enjoy watching, Joey go out there and compete. And, we'll have to kind of wait and see how everything else progresses here in duel number 2. I mean, you got to appreciate greatness, just like, back in the 90s, either you were a Jimmy Johnson guy, you were a Jeff Gordon guy, you're a Tony Stewart guy, or maybe a Dale Jr. guy. So, it kind of just depends on, your affiliation and whatnot, as they're talking to Big Bad Brad Keselowski, who was walking with a cane a couple days ago. So hopefully he's doing a little bit better and whatnot, kind of coming to the end of his career and whatnot. But hopefully we get duel number 2. It'll start up here in a few minutes. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of factors involved. You have to have a good car, and if your car's not good, you have to be an excellent driver. You have to have a good crew chief. You have to have a good spotter. You have to have, great tire changers. Everyone has to be on the same page. And honestly, if you don't have a good crew chief and you don't have a good spotter, the chances of being dominant in NASCAR is not very high. You have to really have it done. Some guys have natural talent and they can drive the hell out of a car that isn't good, but again, it definitely comes down to a team effort and a little bit of luck, towards the end of the race. But also, in a normal race situation, it's usually those last couple pit stops. And if you can end up having great pit stops late, sometimes that ends up making the difference between you winning or getting a top 5 or not at the end of the race. So congratulations to Joey Logano for winning duel number 1 after Ryan Preece dominated a majority of the race. First caution was Mears bumping into Noah Gragson, and obviously that led to a caution, and then you ended up having Bubba Wallace trying to, take a good position towards the front, and Austin Dillon tried to break up, but kind of tapped him from behind, got pushed from behind, and that led to a few other drivers, including William Byron, wrecking late, and Joey Logano ends up taking the checkered flag. And then we'll have duel number 2 started here, hopefully in just a few minutes. And here will be the starting grid for duel number 2. Up front will be Chase Briscoe and Denny Hamlin. Prayers up to him and his family, losing his dad in that fire. Mom got injured, and it sounds like mom is doing a little bit better. Denny Hamlin, another individual that is not, well liked by everyone, like Joey Logano and Kyle Busch, but definitely a good driver. In row number 2, Hendrick Motorsports, Kyle Larson, the champion from last year, and Chase Elliott. Napa, no how. I need to get my hat just like that, baby. Ty Gibbs and Christopher Bell in row number 3. Justin Allgaier, my favorite driver on the up and up. Obviously Dale Jr., handling him. And hopefully we'll be able to see Dale Jr. and Allgaier being in the NASCAR Cup Series full-time sooner than later. Austin Cindric and Allgaier in row number 4. Zane Smith, Michael McDowell in row 5. Connor Zilich, Eric Jones in row 6. Josh Berry, Carson Hocevar in row 7. Riley Herbst and Todd Gilliland in row 8. Anthony Alfredo and Ty Dillon in row 9. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Tyler Reddick in row 10. And then BJ McLeod and JJ Yaley rounded out in row 11. No. So they ended up racing for position, and Kyle Busch ended up winning the pole. So he is going to be obviously in the front, for the Daytona 500. So they, the way that racing works, there's a lot of qualifying, that you have to do. So a lot of practice qualifying, and then that ends up getting you different positions going into the race. And again, this is just kind of, one of these things that, is kind of a buildup, to get you excited, as we're going into the Daytona 500. It obviously is for pride. It's for positioning. And then obviously as we, go in with the trucks tomorrow, and then the O'Reilly Xfinity on Saturday, and then we get into the Daytona 500, obviously on Sunday. But Kyle Busch ended up having the fastest lap in the practice, qualifying round. And so he will be on the pole at the Daytona 500. And that's why you saw him kind of, in the middle of the pack start to kind of fade back, because he knew he wasn't going to be able to win the race. And you don't want to be caught up in a big wreck and have your car being damaged. And so he did the smart thing, since he's already on the pole, that he's going to be up front. But just because you're up front doesn't mean that you're going to win the race. Busch was up front in this race and then ended up going all the way back in, about 10th position within the first 15, 20 laps. Was able to get back into the top 5, but then kind of faded back. So. But again, if Joey Logano didn't get help from Ryan Blaney pushing him from behind, Logano wouldn't have won the race. So, sometimes it's not about just the guy that wins, but it's also the guy behind you giving you that push to be able to be victorious here tonight. And I don't know how long it's going to take, for them to go through all the interviews before we get into Duel 2, but hopefully, we'll start getting the next set of drivers situated here sooner than later. So. And then you got Blaney with the monster stash there with Joey Logano here on FS1. Ford's dominated this race. They had a majority of the spots in the top 10. Toyota only had, maybe 1 or 2 drivers that were kind of peaking in the top 10 for a majority of the race. And then a majority of the Chevys were, 10th and beyond. And, and you did have a few Chevy drivers, in the top 10 here and there, but Ford's definitely dominated this race. Talking with Corey LaJoie, who got caught up in that wreck. And it was going to come down to LaJoy, Chandler Smith, and Casey Mears for that last spot. And Mears got caught up in the wreck too, but was able to get out of it. And LaJoy is probably the best driver out of the three, but qualified for the Daytona 500 last year and just got caught up in the wreck this year and will not be participating. Bucks are up by 12. Yeah. And again, if Giannis and SGA were playing, I would have considered doing that, even though I love NASCAR. So, and then obviously, Cooper Flag, I was assuming that, he would, go at it, but since it's the last game, it seems like they just are, deciding to say fuck it and whatnot. So I assume LeBron will be playing, but again, no Luka and no Flag. So, it's just not enough for me to be able to enjoy, when you have a lot of the superstars not available. So, because when you have a lot of the superstars out, it almost feels like a preseason game. It doesn't actually feel like a real game and whatnot. So, but interesting that the Bucks are up 12 on the Thunder. You would assume that the Thunder would be up on the Bucks, but we'll see how that plays out, and we'll see. And you assume the Lakers will beat Dallas. I mean, they can't win with Cooper Flag, and if Cooper Flag is out, so you assume the Lakers will blow out the Mavericks. But again, if you have a lot of the stars out, who knows? And then hopefully the Blazers will end up winning today. Only 3 games on the NBA slate. And Duel 1 is completed. Joey Logano victorious. And we'll see who ends up winning Duel number 2. Hopefully it will be Chase Elliott. But again, he's going to have a lot of individuals that will be very close to him. And again, the only really downside to the Duel was the, amount of commercials and no picture-in-picture. But other than that, a pretty entertaining race. It's only going to be 60 laps. Only a few wrecks. One, green flag pit stop. And again, you're definitely going to get wrecks at the very end of the race. People jockeying for position. And again, just because you end up dominating the first half of the race, like Ryan Preece did, does not guarantee you, you're going to be winning the race and passing that checkered flag at the very end. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, bang. Duel at Daytona. Duel number 2 incoming, hopefully here shortly. This Dale Earnhardt special is going to be awesome. Anything that has to do with Dale Earnhardt, my favorite driver, is going to be amazing, to say the least. Love me some Dale Earnhardt. Love me Dale Jr., Bill Elliott, Chase Elliott. Love the father-son combos. Frankie was one of the last guys to talk to Dale before he passed away. And I know that rubbed off on Frankie in a good way. Obviously, we're going to have a reboot of Malcolm in the Middle, but it led Frankie, to be able to, kind of go for one of his other dreams, besides, acting. And again, I always root for Frankie when he's out there in the Truck Series. And we're going to have Frankie out there in the Truck Series tomorrow, as well as Tony Stewart making an appearance in over 10 years, which will be very interesting. Vanderbeek, I saw that. Battling cancer. It's a damn shame. Almost all the major players on Varsity Blues, there's a few of those individuals that are no longer with us, at least 3 or 4 cast members from that particular movie. Obviously, Paul Walker no longer with us, and now Vanderbeek and a few others. 4 laps to go, and that's when that big wreck happened. Bubba and Dylan and Byron, quite a few individuals got caught up in that, usually about 4 or 5 cars there. LaJoy hit into the wall, and he was the guy that was more than likely going to get that open spot, but you got to be able to finish. There's my guy, Napa know-how. And they need to be able to have a lot of those other hats that he wears available. I don't want the second tier hats. Give me the good ones. All right, drivers for duel number 2 are getting ready to get in their cars. So I would assume in about 10 minutes at 6 p.m. Pacific, I imagine that's when we'll be green flag racing for duel number 2. Starting grid for duel number 2, and I'll do this numerous times before we get to the start. Chase Briscoe and Denny Hamlin in row 1. Hendrick Motorsports duo of Kyle Larson, the champion from last year, and Chase Elliott, my favorite. Ty Gibbs and Christopher Bell in row number 3. Justin Allgaier and Austin Cindric in row 4. Zane Smith and Mike Dow in row 5. Connor Zillett and Eric Jones in row 6. Josh Berry and Carson Hocevar in row 7. Riley Herbst and Todd Gilliland in row 8. Anthony Alfredo and Ty Dillon in row 9. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Tyler Reddick in row 10. And BJ McLeod and JJ Yaley rounded out in row 11. Yeah, kind of a weird thing with the HBO only doing the duel number 2 instead of both, but at least it gives you an opportunity, Judah, to watch that way as well. Can do a live look in for a few of the different cars. Wish that was available other than through HBO, but All right, we got all the cars getting prepped here on the track for duel number 2. But you got a number of, really good drivers that could come out with the victory here in duel number 2. You got Briscoe, you got Hamlin, you got Larson, you got Chase Elliott, you got Christopher Bell, Justin Allgaier, obviously, being one of the drivers that was in the Xfinity, O'Reilly series, not full-time yet in the NASCAR Cup with Dale Jr., being the owner, but we know that he is very, very dominant, in that Xfinity series. You never know what he can end up doing. And then obviously it's a little bit open after that with the rest of the drivers. Reddick obviously starting on the back end in row 10, but definitely has the skill set to move himself in the front. But really where it's going to come down to is the guys kind of up front with Briscoe, Hamlin, Larson, Elliott, and Bell. There's probably a good chance one of those 5 drivers ends up winning. But again, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube.
So let's send it over to pit road for opening ceremony.
All right, opening ceremonies for duel number 2 about to start. All right, drivers are starting their engines. And again, it's going to get green flag racing here sooner than later. I'm going to go check up on my pup here real quick since we've been doing this for about 2 hours. And then we'll have another hour and a half, 2 hours to go. And then we'll be all wrapped up with this duel number 2 at Daytona. Go grab your beer, grab your snacks and your refreshments, and we're going to have an amazing duel number 2 here to wrap this night up. All right, got my pup a little bit of a snack. Seems like she's settled in to a certain degree. And we got one more race here for duel number 2. If you're just tuning in, Joey Logano ended up winning duel number 1, even though Ryan Preece ended up leading the most laps. And we will find out who will join Joey Logano in victory lane here in duel number 2. All right, America 250 duel at Daytona, duel number 2. And cars are starting to enter the field. And again, we should be able to get things situated for green flag racing in just a couple minutes. All right, let's go over the lineup here one last time as we're getting ready to start this duel number 2, 60 laps. We got Chase Briscoe up front with Denny Hamlin in row number 1. Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott from Hendrick Motorsports in row number 2. Ty Gibbs and Christopher Bell in row number 3. Justin Allgaier and Austin Cindric in row 4. Zane Smith and Michael McDowell in row 5. Hunter Zilich and Eric Jones in row 6. Josh Berry and Carson Hocevar in row 7. Riley Herbst and Todd Gilliland in row 8. Anthony Alfredo and Ty Dillon in row 9. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Tyler Reddick in row 10. And BJ McLeod and JJ Yaley in row 11. I need a new one for Zilich and Berry. All right. Gotta swap out a couple of these photos here. Got the Zilich photo swap here.
Trying to race into the 500, Anthony Alfredo in a Chevy, and Ty Dillon. Number 10, Ricky Stenhouse and Tyler Reddick, a couple of veterans there, and two more drivers trying to race their way into the 500, BJ McLeod and JJ Yaley.
All right, got the new ones all situated here. I think I'm good to go. And we are just about ready to get duel number 2 underway. Love me some Larry McReynolds. So Hamlin having some issues with the windshield there, and hopefully that'll be not an issue like it was at Darlington. Global broadcast here on FS1 for the Daytona 500 duel number 2. All right, 22 cars available here in race number 2. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. 60 laps. we are getting very close to the beginning of this race. Daytona under the lights, always a beautiful thing. Whether it's during the day, you get a certain type of vibe, but you definitely get a different type of vibe with the lights coming on at night here at Daytona. All right, here we go. Pace car ends up going off. And here we go. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys. Patrick in the building. What's good? And we're on lap 1 of 60. And again, we didn't have too many big wrecks until, a little bit late, but I'm definitely excited to be able to see how this one is going to play out. Let's go, Chase. Three wide. And those RFK Fords ended up, dominating for a good chunk of the race. We'll see if it ends up being Fords or Chevys or Toyotas here today. Inside line, obviously the tighter, faster line like it was in Duel number 1. All right, here we go. Briscoe, Hamlin, Elliott, Larson, Bell in your top 5. Gibbs, Cindric, Allgaier, Smith, and McDowell in your top 10. Ooh, 3 wide. Allgaier, what's happening? Come on, Justin. Okay, that's a plan thing. Okay, I was going to say, what's going on there with Allgaier? Okay, he just wants to be able to be clean in the Daytona 500. He's already punched his ticket, so. We're on lap 3. 58 to go. Briscoe, Hamlin, Larson, Elliott, Gibbs in your top 5. Bell, Cindric, McDowell, Smith, Jones in your top 10. And Briscoe and Hamlin pulling away from Hendrick Motorsports teammates Larson and Elliott here early on. Yeah, definitely will be interesting if the strategies is going to be a little bit different, based on the pit window for the mandatory 1 stop in this 60-lap race. Come on, Chase. Let's go. You have to think Elliott and Larson are going to have just as good of a chance to win this race as Hamlin and Briscoe up front. Four laps in, 57 to go. And we got 3 wide racing already. Open teams for the duel, Alfredo, Yaley, and McLeod. You would assume Yaley will probably be the individual that will have the best chance, but again, you never know what kind of wreck might happen late where, you think it's going to be a LaJoy and then it ends up being Casey Mears. So, but only one of those 3 drivers will be able to make the Daytona 500. But again, McLeod in 11th, Alfredo in 15th, and Yaley back in 19th at the moment. Briscoe, Hamlin, Larson, Elliott, Bell in your top 5. Gibbs, Jones, McDowell, Cindric, and Dillon in your top 10. Five laps in this 60-lap race in duel number 2. Yeah, Bell is in 5th. And again, if you had a front runner to win the race, you would have to assume Briscoe, Hamlin, Larson, Elliott, and Christopher Bell have to be the front runners to win this race. But again, Preece ended up leading the most laps in Duel 1, and he didn't win the race once they ended up going into the mandatory stop. So, again, all the Fords went in, Chevys waited, and then you ended up having a caution. And sometimes those cautions come at the worst possible moments for these drivers. I got you. I'll be updating everything with the photos and the positions. So, you have any type of questions or anything like that or comments, feel free. We got Toyota, Chevys, Toyotas, back and forth, and we don't have very many Fords in this race. A majority of them are going to be on the back end because a lot of the really good Ford drivers were in Duel number 1. So the winner of this race, more than likely, could end up being a Toyota or a Chevy. So not to say, a Ford couldn't, but they don't have as many guys. And again, the talent level with the Fords that are in this race, not really up to par compared to some of the guys in Duel 1, like Joey Logano, for example, and Ryan Blaney. I did not, but I did watch it though. Toyota Racing. $53 laps to go, and it is a global broadcast on FS1. If you want to get inside the driver's vehicle and have a kind of an inside look, if you go on to HBO, you can actually tap in and select your driver and kind of go that route if you want to get a little bit closer to the action. But it is on FS1 for everyone else. 8 laps in here, 53 to go. Briscoe, Hamlin, Elliott, Larson, Bell in your top 5. Gibbs, McDowell, Cindric, Dillon, Jones in your top 10. And Allgaier obviously has already punched his ticket, obviously for the O'Reilly Xfinity Series being, run by Dale Jr. So obviously he decided to move himself all the way to the back to avoid any major wrecks since he's already in the race. And again, we'll see if that ends up, going to his advantage here and kind of getting away from a lot of the potential wrecks that he could be in. Again, the only downside to the Duel, no picture-in-picture and whatnot. But when we go to Fox for the Daytona 500, they will have a picture-in-picture. So you won't probably have any moment of that race or very few moments where it's just straight commercials. In Duel number 1, we missed maybe about a fifth of the action, maybe about 5 to 10 laps total out of the 60, but we didn't miss any of the wrecks, thankfully. But again, I think that's one thing that, normally we like, about NASCAR is that you at least get a picture-in-picture in most of those races. But I hate it when they just go straight commercial because it's like, what's happening? Yeah, the cars might be just going through the normal cycle, but, you just want to be able to watch it, especially if you've been looking forward to this race. So. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. Let's go, Chase. Need to have a strong outing. But we'll be doing quite a few of the races, through O'Reilly Xfinity Series, the Truck Series, and NASCAR Cup until we get into late March. And then once we get into late March, it'll be Mariner Baseball pretty much every day. But again, I'm going to try to grind out as many races as I can until we get to that point. And then if we have a time and a place where I can actually do both, like a Mariner game and a NASCAR race, I'm definitely willing to do that. But unfortunately, a lot of times they overlap. And then I have to kind of stick with the main, which would be Seattle Mariner Baseball. But I'm definitely looking forward to doing quite a few races this year. And hopefully these commercial breaks won't last more than 2 to 3 minutes at a time, but that's kind of where we're at. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. Briscoe, Hamlin, Larson, Elliott, and Bell. You have to assume that those are going to be the main favorites. You know, Logano was one of the heavy favorites in, Duel 1, and he ended up being victorious. But I was very impressed on how well Ryan Preece, dominated that, beginning of race and in the middle of the race. But, again, when it went into the mandatory pit stop, that's where things kind of went sideways. All right, we're back to the action. 13 laps in. Briscoe, Hamlin, Larson, Elliott, Jones in your top 5. Gibbs, Bell, Cindric, McDowell, and Smith in your top 10. Christopher Bell dropping a couple spots. Jones gaining a couple. But the top 4 positions remain untouched with Briscoe, Hamlin, Larson, and Elliott. And Briscoe has led all 12 laps so far. No surprise. And we know Briscoe and Kyle Busch were very good, obviously, in their qualifying runs, and Busch will be up front getting the pole. And, it definitely has had a very up and down career as of late within the last few years. And we'll see what Rowdy Nation can do for Kyle Busch fans. 14 laps in out of 60 total here tonight in Duel number 2. We're under the lights in Daytona, which is I prefer, the night race, at Daytona rather than during the day. I mean, they're both great, but you just get a different type of vibes under the lights, in my opinion. Briscoe, Hamlin, Larson, Elliott, Jones in your top 5. Gibbs, Bell, Cindric, McDowell, Smith in the top 10. And on the outside looking in is Ty Dillon in 11th. $15 laps in, Briscoe dominating this race almost identically as Ryan Preece did in Duel number 1. And I really want to see Junior Motorsports be, in the Cup Series full time with Dale Jr. and Justin Allgaier, and hopefully, they'll be able to do that in the near future. 46 to go. Had 3 wide racing early on, but now kind of going single file, and seeing we're getting a good push here from Hamlin for Briscoe, kind of separating themselves from the rest of the pack. Elliott and Larson trying to catch up, but Toyota's dominating the first 7 spots besides Elliott and Larson, stuck at 3rd and 4th with Chevys. And you only have 1 Ford in the top 10, which is Smith. And again, we'll see how chaotic this race will be. Usually you get 1 chaotic race, and then the other one ends up being a little bit more clean. So we already had the chaotic race in Duel 1. We'll see if we end up getting it in Duel 2 as well.
to
17 laps in. 44 to go. Global broadcast here on FS1. And if you want to get an inside view of one of your favorite drivers, you hop over to HBO and you'll be able to tap in if you have access. Come on, Chase. Elliott and Larson still battling for third place. $18 laps in. 43 to go. And the open spot will be between Alfredo, Yaley, and McLeod. So it'll be very interesting to see who ends up getting a spot to the Daytona 500 out of those 3 drivers. Top speed a little bit slower, in these first 18 to 20 laps in duel number 2. You were hitting speeds in, 185 to 190 around this point. Right now, you're kind of hovering in that 175 range for a lot of these guys, but Briscoe getting a nice push with Hamlin up front, Elliott and Larson right behind them. 42 to go out of this 60-lap race in duel number 2. And it just gives you a little bit of a preview and a taste of what the Daytona 500 has in store on Sunday at 11:30 Pacific, which we will be doing here on the channel. And I'll be doing a little bit of the NBA All-Star festivities. Rising Stars is tomorrow. And then you have the All-Star Saturday night. And then we'll be doing, we'll see if there's going to be any type of weather issues. But I'll try to end up doing the NBA All-Star game and the Daytona 500 if I have time. I just don't like the format, with the Rising Stars and the NBA All-Star game where they're splitting it into like different teams. It just needs to be Eastern Conference, Western Conference, and then rookies versus sophomores like they used to do, but I guess that's what happens when Adam Silver is running the league, not Dave, not Stern. So. The league was handled much better when Stern was running it. And interested to see what Hocevar does here today as well.
Little change. Okay, no change in the front 5. Just the way we started.
Briscoe, Hamlin, Elliott, Larson, and Christopher Bell all in your top 5. Bell moving up a spot, Larson dropping a spot. Yeah, but again, they keep, changing the formats. It's stupid. Like you have all these different players and everything. I mean, again, they wonder why, the ratings aren't the greatest. And on top of all the injuries of the stars, they just need to go back to the old format. That would actually be much better. Well, the world team is a hell of a lot better than USA 1 or 2, if you're actually looking down the rosters and whatnot. But if you made it Eastern Conference, Western Conference would probably beat the shit out of the Eastern Conference, but still it would be some, continuity there. Wild card for Sunday. Whoa, that's a good question. I'm not sure if I have a wild card for Sunday. I mean, there definitely are, a few individuals that have been close of winning the Daytona 500, like Chase Elliott, but, I'm not really sure the chances of him, finally, breaking through and winning, but, there definitely are quite a few drivers that, could end up winning it for the very first time, or we could end up having a repeat winner. We know William Byron has won it back-to-back. Could he win it back-to-back-to-back? Yeah, it's possible, but he ended up getting in a wreck, obviously, in Duel 1. So if I had to take a guess or a prediction, I would say Byron probably won't win it 3 times in a row. He was, kind of lucky to win it, 2 years in a row. But again, you have to just kind of look at the quality of the drivers, the guys that have the consistency. But as we know, sometimes it ends up being a guy that you least expect that ends up winning the race. You might have a guy that just avoids the big wreck late and then puts themselves in a good position with a really good pit stop late. And then you end up getting a first-time winner, which could, possibly happen. So. And another commercial break, and hopefully we don't have too many of these. The only downside to the Duel 1 and 2, no picture-in-picture. Come on, FS1. But obviously in this Duel number 2, Chase Briscoe, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Christopher Bell, any of those guys could win, the Daytona 500. And then obviously on the flip side, Joey Logano, who won Duel number 1, could obviously end up winning it. He's already won it once. He could win it again. And you never can count out Ryan Blaney. And again, William Byron obviously has won it back-to-back. I don't think he's going to win it again. But I would say those guys that I mentioned, would probably have the best chance. But it could end up being someone that we least expect as well. So whose cars are you tapping into? Do you have a particular driver that you're tapping into on Max? I don't have it right now, but once you let me know when that Game of Thrones spinoff is over, then I'll end up getting it for like a month, and then when I do have it for that month, I'll probably use it and tap in, watching a few races with it. Yeah, but again, you don't really have the same commentary, when you're walking inside the car, you're just hearing car noises, right? So again, that's kind of the downside. It's like you get inside the car, but you don't hear the announcers. So again, it's kind of, you're hearing inside the car, which is cool, but they need to be able to have audio available with it as well. And I believe it's not, right? Because I had it for like a month last year, but I didn't keep it long term. So. Briscoe has led every lap, almost like Ryan Preece did, obviously, in Duel number 1. 35 laps to go. But again, Kyle Busch winning the pole. Chase Briscoe dominating here early. And Briscoe has definitely taken a leap, in his skill set within the last few years. And Denny Hamlin, obviously, going through a lot of adversity, losing his dad in that home fire. Mom got severely injured as well. I would not be shocked if Denny Hamlin ends up winning quite a few races this year. It's going to be competitive. I don't necessarily think you're going to get a guy single-handedly winning 6 to 10 races by himself, which we have seen, in the past. But again, it feels like, there's a lot of, a lot of parity, and again, it's like, the driver that ends up winning the most might only end up winning, 4 races or 5 races total. And then you end up getting a few guys that win 3, a few guys that win 2, and then quite a few that might end up just winning 1. So, but I don't know if we're in a time period where we have like a Jimmy Johnson or a Jeff Gordon, where they're just going to dominate and win like 10 in a year. We have seen certain individuals, with like Larson and Chase a few years back that, could win a bunch of races, but you definitely have seen a lot of the other middle tier guys get better, and even guys towards the bottom going to the middle now. So again, you definitely have your favorites in the top 10, but I don't really think that one guy is that much better than the rest. And we know that Larson ended up winning the championship, but again, if you look at kind of the main popular top 10 drivers, they're, pretty similar in skill set. Some have better crew chiefs and pit crews than others. And again, that usually ends up making the difference. So. Yeah, I think almost every time that I had it and I tapped in, it was just you're hearing the spotter, or the crew chief, and then inside the car and whatnot, which is still cool, unless you can watch on 2, like you could watch commentary, on your phone, and then have the race up so you can still figure what's going on. So Briscoe, Hamlin, Elliott, Dillon, Larson, Chase up to 3rd place. Let's go. Napa, no how. That's my guy. Let's get it. Let's go, Chase. Started 4th, and I would love for Chase to win the Daytona 500. Closest he's gotten is 2nd, So Briscoe, Hamlin, Elliott, Dillon, Larson in your top 5. Stenhouse, Bell, McDowell, Gibbs, and Alfredo in your top 10. Wow. And on the outside looking in is Eric Jones. That's true. You got commentary with me, so that is true. But I was saying, if you wanted to actually, get the additional commentary through, FS1. So you know what I mean. All right, 31 laps to go. We're halfway through. no major wrecks, and we didn't even have a caution until, towards the, kind of the mandatory one pit stop, and Mears ended up running into the back of Gregson, and then you ended up having that major wreck where Bubba Wallace got pushed from behind by Austin Dillon, and then William Byron's car got caught up in the mix, as well as Casey Mears and a few others. So we will see if we end up getting a 4 or 5 car pileup towards the end. But again, we might not see any wrecks until, maybe, 40 plus laps in. It's like you have to assume somewhere between lap 40 and lap 50, you might get one, a minor one. And then you might get a major one in the last 5 laps, because that's typically what happens in Daytona. Everyone's jockeying for position. People are taking risks. And usually you get that major 5 to 10 car, pile-up wreck late in the race. And then you have one open spot for 3 drivers. And again, whoever finishes highest will end up getting the automatic bid. And Casey Mears was the individual that ended up getting the 1 spot in the first race. And we'll see if Anthony Alfredo ends up getting the next. Right now he's in 9th, which is a little surprising. Yeah, give me some Chase, baby. Come on, Chase. So we got Toyota, Chevy, Toyota, Chevy, Toyota. And again, no really Fords in the mix because all the good Ford drivers were in Duel 1. All the Ford drivers in this are, kind of lower end guys. I mean, they got Cindric, Smith, and Barry, but they're, 18th, 19th, and 20th. It's not like they have the same type of skill set like Joey Logano, for example. So Briscoe, Dillon, Elliott, Herbst, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. there in the top 5. And another commercial break. Now you got to keep me updated while you watch HBO. And again, I don't assume that there's going to be any wrecks and whatnot. But again, the only downside, to some of the races where you don't have a picture-in-picture. Again, the drivers in Duel 1 were going about 185 to 190. So the drivers in this race are going about 5 to 10 miles an hour slower, but at some point as, the tires warm up to the track, you should see speeds go a little bit higher before, this one is over. Let's go, Chase. America 250 Duel at Daytona. Let's go. But Briscoe, Hamlin, Larson, Elliott, and Christopher Bell definitely have to be your, 5 strongest, pieces that have the best chance, to win this race. But again, you just never know how things are going to play out with the mandatory pit stop. And then if you get caught up in that big wreck late. They'll go 3 wide a little bit here and there as well. So, and I like the new rule change. Instead of the playoff format, it's going to be more, consistency is king. So not only wins, but top 5 and top 10 finishes. And again, rewarding consistency. I think that is the smart thing that NASCAR did in the off season. So not, you win 1 race and then you automatically get in, so. And obviously we know how difficult it is just to win 1 race. I mean, it's very difficult. I mean, sometimes guys race 6-7 years before they win their first race in their career. And we've seen that happen, a few times within the last few years. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it, baby. Just waiting for this commercial break to end, but Judah's got it on the HBO Showtime. So if there's anything wreck-wise or anything crazy, he'll be the first to let us know. All right, 25 laps to go. Briscoe, Elliott, Dillon, Stenhouse, Hamlin in your top 5. Larson, McDowell, Alfredo, Bell, and Gibbs in your top 10. You're seeing Hamlin and Larson drop a couple spots and Elliott gaining a couple. Let's go. We got the 2 chases up front, Briscoe and Elliott. Let's go. Toyota versus a Chevy. Who wants it? Briscoe or Elliott? Let's get it. I do like that Napa Racing black hat. The black and white hats that Chase wears are top tier. I like Napa back in the day when they had Michael Waltrip with DEI, with Dale Jr., and hopefully I'll be able to find a really nice white and black, Napa Racing hat sooner than later. $24 laps to go. Briscoe, Dillon, Elliott dropping a spot. Stenhouse Jr. and Hamlin in your top 5. McDowell, Larson, Alfredo, Bell, and Zilich in your top 10. Nice job by Connor getting into the top 10 there. Yeah, again, they only have like 4 cars, I believe, in this one. And again, they don't really have good drivers in this particular race. All the dominant Ford drivers were in Duel 1. So, and again, you'll definitely be able to see the competitive juices come out on Sunday in the Daytona 500 between Toyotas, Fords, and Chevys. And teammates will work with each other to a certain degree, but when it comes towards the end, it's all up for grabs, as anybody knows. Love me some Larry McReynolds. 23 to go here in Duel number 2. Come on, Elliott. And Chase Briscoe has led 36 out of 37 laps. Come on, Chase. Give me that Napa know-how. Let's go. I really like this hat. I just got to get the right curve to it. I mean, it's been it was a Mariner giveaway on the 4th of July last year, and this is the first time me pulling it out of the plastic protective bag. So and hopefully I'll be able to find a Napa Racing hat that will suit me. That won't be an arm and a leg cost-wise, but I mean, if you want a nice NASCAR hat or any hat for that matter, you're spending $40 to $50. So that's quite a bit of money for just a hat. $22 to go. And again, we have 1 mandatory pit stop. So Briscoe, Dillon, Elliott, Stenhouse Jr., and Hamlin in your top 5. McDowell, Larson, Alfredo, Bell, and Gibbs in your top 10. Yeah, well, I mean, it's a great company to be able to be linked with. I think that the paint scheme is one of the best in NASCAR, with the blue and the white and the yellow. And again, they have a great history, over the years. And, having, Chase Elliott take over from previous with Michael Waltrip running the Napa car, the 15, and now with the Napa 9. And again, I feel it's, no matter, and then you'll change, sponsors, and it's not going to be the Napa car every race, but it just definitely pops on the track whenever you see that Napa and that 9. $21 laps to go. Briscoe, Dillon, Stenhouse Jr., Elliott, Hamlin in your top 5. Chase dropping a spot. Alfredo jumping up all the way to 6th. My God. Hamlin, Zilich, Larson, Zilich in fucking 8th. Wow. Let's go, Connor. And again, you're starting to see some of the young drivers, kind of make a name for themselves, which is awesome. And I feel like, the more the sponsors, the numbers, the drivers, the crew, you get more invested, just like in any sport. For a lot of the haters, they're like, oh, they just go left. But it's much more than that. It definitely is, the cars and hearing the speed and the drivers and their personality. And there's a lot that goes into it. And honestly, I like NASCAR more than the NBA, college basketball, and the NHL. Like, I like NASCAR just as much as football and baseball. It's like, I got Mariners at the top with the NFL and college football and NASCAR all tied for second. Like, that's how much I, really enjoy, watching, NASCAR races. And hell, I'm such a, fanatic of racing. I can watch the trucks, whether it ends up being, with Tony Stewart this weekend or, watching Malcolm in the Middle do his thing, and a few of those others, or even the lower series, with O'Reilly Xfinity Series. If you are a fan of racing, obviously you're going to get more enjoyment out of the Cup Series. But I like the trucks a lot too, because they're so aerodynamic. And the way that they, flow around the track is a lot different than the Xfinity O'Reilly Series or the Cup Series. 18 to go. Chase dropping down to 9th when he was all the way up into 3rd place. Come on, Chase. Alfredo all the way up, challenging McDowell for the lead. Unbelievable. And he's one of the open drivers. That, again, whoever finishes the highest out of the 3 drivers that are highlighted in yellow on FS1 will end up getting an automatic bid to the Daytona 500. And this is kind of shocking to see Anthony Alfredo all the way up in 2nd in his Chevy. Unbelievable. I figured that he would do pretty good, but not this good. And you got Chevys in the first 5 spots: McDowell, Alfredo, Dillon, Zilich, and Stenhouse Jr. Zilich is another guy, a young buck, trying to make a name. $16 to go. McDowell, Alfredo, Zilich, Dillon, Stenhouse Jr., Herbst, Reddick, Briscoe, Hocevar, and Elliott is in 10th. And again, some of the lower drivers are working their way up front, and a lot of the dominant drivers are getting kind of pushed back into 10th to 15th place. Elliott in 10th, Hamlin in 11th, and Larson in 13th. Christopher Bell in 15th. So a lot of those guys that started up front are kind of scaling back a little bit. And then you're going to get a pit stop at some point, mandatory by all drivers within the next 5 laps. Oh, here we go. We got some drivers coming in. Wow, Elliott coming in early. Nobody wrecking, so that's good. You're not getting any wrecks like we did early with Casey Mears rear-ending Noah Gragson in Duel 1, so... Typically, this would be just fuel for these drivers. We only had one driver take tires in Duel 1. All right, 15 to go. Wow, Alfredo up front. Unbelievable. And Zilich, now he's up front. Wow, Connor. And he's a youngin', man. Lap 47, 14 to go. And it's all about strategy on when you decide to do your mandatory pit stop. So not everyone is going to come in together. So because you saw Ryan Preece, dominate like 35 of the first, 37 laps. But again, he wasn't able to get back up front after the pit stop. So wow, Zilich by himself. $13 to go. And this is definitely a little bit different strategy-wise, coming into the pits than we saw in Duel number 1. You're starting to get, one driver, 5 drivers. It's not like a group of 10 or 15 coming in like we saw in Duel 1. Herbst, Reddick, Cindric, Smith, Bell in your top 5. Hocevar, Gilliland, Barry, Gibbs, Allgaier in the top 10. And then a lot of the top drivers that were in the top 12 positions are in the back of the field since they hit the pits. 13 to go. Now you get a majority of the drivers coming in. Allgaier up front. And he ended up going all the way to the back at the beginning of the race because he already punched his ticket to the Daytona 500, but 12 laps to go. No major wrecks yet, but you have to assume within the last 5 laps, there is going to be a big wreck. Traditionally, that's kind of the MO for Daytona. Allgaier, Herb, Cindric, Bell, Smith in your top 5. Gilliland, Gibbs, Barry, Yaley, Reddick in your top 10. 3 wide. 11 to go. And again, we know with Junior Motorsports, with Dale Jr., he's so proud of Justin. You know, obviously one of the more popular drivers in the Xfinity O'Reilly series, the series below the Cup. And hopefully Dale Jr. and Allgaier will be able to be full-time, Cup team in the near future. He definitely has the skill set to be in the Cup series for sure. Oh, he got loose. Hocevar, the young gun, corrected at the very last minute. That would have been a big wreck there. 11 to go. Come on, Chase. Come on, Chase. Chase is in the top 5. Come on, Elliott. Come on, Chase. 3 wide. 11 to go. And again, you have to assume in these last 11, 10, now 10 to go, you're going to get a big wreck here in the next 5 laps, more than likely. Reddick. Hocevar, Reddick, Herbst, Gilliland, Jones in your top 5. Zilich, Smith, Alfredo, Barry, Gibbs in the top 10. Hocevar, Elliott, Hamlin, McDowell, Reddick in your top 5. Come on, Chase. And they cue to a commercial break, and hopefully this will be the last one. And Judah's got it on HBO, so he'll be able to give us a little bit of updates if there ends up being a wreck, during the commercial break. Hopefully there isn't one, and if there is a wreck, we want to be able to all watch it at the same time. Getting down to the last few laps here at the Duel at Daytona, Duel number 2. And we saw Joey Logano win Duel number 1. Who will win Duel number 2? Come on, Chase Elliott. Napa, no, how? Let's go. Come on, give me a picture-in-picture, damn it. Come on, Chase. And again, when the game or the race, is on Fox for the Daytona 500, they'll do picture-in-picture for that. Obviously, being on FS1 is kind of a sub-channel to Fox, so Fox will have, it might be a small box, but they'll have it. I would assume, for a majority of the race, nobody wants to miss any of the action. But obviously, it's all about money and sponsorship, so. And with 60 laps, you miss about a fifth of the race for Duel 1 and Duel 2 based off these commercials. And we should have a few laps to go here once they cue us back to the action here for Duel number 2. And hopefully Chase is in first when they cut back. Come on, NASCAR. All right, here we go. 7 laps to go. Chase is in first. Let's go. Elliott, Hocevar, Hamlin, Cindric, Gilliland in your top 5. Let's go. Chase up front. Let's get it. 6 to go. Let's go, Chase. Napa, no. Hal, let's get it. Come on, Chase. Elliott, Hocevar, McDowell, Hamlin, Cindric in your top 5. Larson, Reddick, Gilliland, Stenhouse, and Herbst in your top 10. No cautions, 12 lead changes. Most laps led, Chase Briscoe. Come on, Chase. Larson with a nice run here as well. Come on, Chase. First time that Elliott has led this race in Duel number 2. Five laps to go. Elliott, Hocevar, Larson, McDowell, Stenhouse Jr. in your top 5. Zilich, Hamlin, Bell, Reddick, Cindric in your top 10. Briscoe went from first to 20th. Elliott looking strong up front here. Let's see if he can hang on for the victory. Come on, Chase. And I love father-son combos. Dale Sr., Dale Jr., Bill Elliott, Chase Elliott. And Chase trying to make his daddy proud. Let's go. 4 laps to go. Elliott, Hocevar, Larson, his teammate in third, McDowell, Stenhouse Jr., all Chevys in the first 6 spots. 4 laps to go. Come on, Chase. And again, you assume there's going to be a wreck at some point, but I'm kind of hoping there's not if Chase can win it. Because if it ends up having a wreck, it's going to be more than likely behind him, but I'm not sure what kind of restart we would get with Chase. He probably wouldn't win it if they had to have a restart. Next on FS1, we've lost Dale Earnhardt 25 years later. Going to be amazing. If you're a fan of the Intimidator, I would highly recommend watching. 3 laps to go. Come on, Chase. And we definitely have seen in the last couple of years, Larson as well as Byron kind of, overtake, Chase, even though he's been consistent with top 5 and top 10 finishes after his winter skiing, snowboarding accident from a couple years ago. But anytime you can win a race of any magnitude, whether it's the Clash at Bowman Gray that Chase won last year, or winning the Duel number 2 this year, you just want to be able to start off, the season on a good foot. And Chase is in first place with Hocevar right on his heels. 3 to go. Come on, Elliott. Napa, no, Hal. Let's go. Come on, Chase. Briscoe ended up leading the most laps, but fell behind with a bad pit stop. And Chase has got about a half car distance on Carson Hocevar, the up-and-coming young stud in the Cup Series. 2 laps to go. Come on, Chase. I mean, normally I want to see a big wreck, but normally Chase isn't up front. So if your favorite driver is up front, you don't want to wreck. You want that driver to be able to win. So hopefully there is no big wreck here in the last 2 laps and Elliott can be victorious. Come on, Chase. Elliott, Hocevar, Larson, McDowell, Stenhouse Jr. in your top 5. Bell, Gibbs, Dillon, Jones, Cindric in your top 10. 1 lap to go. Come on, Chase. You can do it. No big wreck here. And if there's a big wreck, have it after, he ends up winning the race. Final lap. Come on, Chase. It's got about a half car lead on Hocevar. Come on, Elliott. Napa, no, how? I think he might do it, but I don't want to jinx him. Come on. Oh, back bumper hit by Hocevar. Come on, Chase, hang on. Elliott, Hocevar, Larson in your top 3. Come on, Chase. Oh. Come on, Chase. Come on, Chase. Yes. Let's go. Hell yeah. Chase Elliott, Duel 2 winner. Yes, baby. Joining Joey Logano in Duel 1. And again, it's not like Chase Elliott's going to win, every race. And Elliott 1, Hocevar 2. Fantastic, finish for him being a young buck. Larson 3, McDowell 4, Bell 5. Let's go. Napa know-how. Let's go. Yes. Nice job by Chase. Let's get it. Let's go. And again, the thumb worked. Let's get it, baby. Let's go. And again, Byron and Larson as of late, kind of surpassed Chase. And I'm hoping that Chase can kind of get back to that level. And we know Bowman is the worst out of the 4 in Hendrick Motorsports. But anytime you can win early in the season, like he won the Clash at Bowman Gray, it gave him some momentum, last season. And hopefully, Chase will be able to win, 2 to 5 races this year, which is asking a lot, but I'm hoping that he can do it. But let's go. And really impressive by Hocevar getting second, if we're really being honest. Larson finishing 3rd. Let's go. And again, when you end up having in a full season, 30, 40 some races, sometimes you're only going to win, 1 to 3, depending on how good you are. And then every once in a while, if you have a dominant season, you might be able to win 5 to 10. But it feels like those years of a single driver winning 5 to 10, it's not going to be as common as it was maybe in previous years. Let's go. And my favorite driver getting the job done. Napa know-how. Let's go, Chase. Hell yeah. Chase Elliott, Duel winner. And number 2, Joey Logano, Duel winner number 1. And you got to assume both of those drivers should be very competitive once we end up going, for the championship late. Let's go. Hell yeah. And Chase Elliott did start in row 2. 3rd driver to win 3 or more duels. And Dale Jr. and Jeff Gordon right there with him too. And Alfredo getting in. Let's go. Elliott, Hocevar, Larson, McDowell, Bell finishing your top 5. Let's go, Chase. It did help. If he didn't pit early, he wouldn't have won. 100%. That strategy worked. Starts 4th in the Daytona 500, and he should have a good chance. Highest finish for Chase at the Daytona 500, I believe, is 2nd. So, I mean, it'll be a special day when he wins it. And it's not if he wins it, it's when he wins it. But 100%, Judah, that, decision to pit earlier definitely benefited him late in the race. 100%. Very likable, driver too. He's voted the most popular driver typically year in and year out. He's not going to win the championship every single year. And again, it's been a few years, for him to kind of get back to that, dominant mode that he was in a few years ago. And we've seen, Larson, kind of get to a point where, he's considered a little bit maybe better than Chase, but even William Byron has been able to, get himself in victory lane quite a bit the last few years. And hopefully this will be the year that Chase can bring home the title. Awesome. Well, I love you guys and I appreciate you guys very much. I got, Rising Stars will be tomorrow. It'll either be that or the trucks race that I'll do tomorrow. Obviously, Malcolm in the middle. Frankie Muniz will be in the truck series, as well as Tony Stewart. First time in like 10 plus years. So I'll have to decide if we're going to be doing the trucks or the Rising Stars for the NBA All-Star festivities. So it'll be one or the other. And then obviously we'll do NBA Saturday night. And then obviously we have Daytona 500 on Sunday, as well as the NBA All-Star festivities. So love you guys, and I appreciate you guys. And congratulations to my favorite driver, Chase Elliott, for winning Duel 2, Joey Logano for winning Duel 1. And I love you guys, and I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. And I got one question for you. Well, you know, talk sports like us. Your boy Ryan, Northwest Sports Fanatics. Chase Elliott victorious, and I'm out. Gang.